Howdy, everyone. Town of Fontana Dam Town Council meeting on May 18th, 2022. We're going to call to order at 5:42. Present, we've got Luis, Brandon, Lacey, Zell, Rob, Tiffany. We've got Carrie over there hiding. And we got Kevin back.
Also hiding.
Alright. Welcome. Agenda, if anybody doesn't have any corrections or adjustments, anything motions?
Make a motion to approve the agenda from last month.
Thank you, Tiffany. I want that. All you gotta do is do it anyway. You can use mine. Approval of the April minutes. I didn't see anything right offhand there. Short of any adjustments there, entertaining motions as well.
Make a motion to approve the April minutes.
All right, all in favor? All right. All right, no problem. Kevin, anything you want to chime in about
I can't wait for this awesome water update from our new ORC over here. It's going to be epic.
Okay, so
There's my public comment.
We're going to start off here off the bat with it looks like a swearing in of Luis Giraldo.
Yes.
Giraldo. Okay.
Fontana.
Giraldo.
Geralda?
Geralda.
Because I can't roll my R's like that, I'm sorry.
Don't worry about it.
All right.
So, okay, let me see.
They'll have the power there.
Power. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. We gotta do a
I gotta
Bible.
find the Bible. I didn't think about that.
It's not a protected place.
Looking great. Looking just like a godly community over here with no Bible in the town hall. Yes, it is. Got mine in the truck if you guys need one.
Oh, okay.
Just saying.
She's got one in the truck though.
I mean, it's back.
She's got one somewhere. I'm just joking.
Where did we put it?
That's
This is why the folks tune in on Facebook. Stuff like this.
So, well, you got the Jeopardy sort of.
I should have that playing in the background. Da, 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 da.
I don't know where it's at.
yeah, we might need to.
Is it not over there?
About 8:30 we'll get to you.
I'll just get a room.
But y'all have one, right? Did it come out like a different color at first?
Mud.
Yeah.
I took a shower yesterday evening and the whole thing was covered in red mud.
You got one in your car?
And right after that I got an email.
Yeah, I got it. I got it right here.
saying-
Oh, you got one?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. We got it.
It's the one that survived the great Fontana wreck of 22.
Okay, well then that's
Yeah.
got to bring good luck.
Dennis
We got it.
took
You're
the water
welcome.
and sent it off.
Do y'all test it right at the outlet or?
I don't know where he got. I was not in the village for that.
I didn't even think I had one in my car too.
Did I use a water filter in my sink now? When I pour it just out of the water spigot, it is red. When I turn that on, it's like,
You know why it's red? Because the tank got down to one foot. So all the sediment in the tank up there.
Yeah.
So what we're
All
gonna do
mixed
here,
up in it.
you place your hand on the Bible
Some
and
of those
then you
nice
repeat after
sparkly
me.
filters.
When I say
Yeah,
I, you just say
They
I.
only make it 3 minutes for that water.
Alright, so I
Because we all.
do solemnly swear that I will support, repeat after me, do solemnly swear
Do solemnly swear that I will support
and maintain the Constitution
and maintain the Constitution
and law of the United States of America
and the laws of the United States of America,
and the Constitution and laws
and the Constitution and laws
of the state of North Carolina,
of the state of North Carolina,
not inconsistent therewith,
non-consistent
therewith,
therewith.
and I will faithfully discharge
I will faithfully discharge
the duties of my office
the duties of my office
as council member
as council member
of the town of Fontana Dam,
for the town of Fontana,
North Carolina, so help me God.
North Carolina, so help me God.
All right. And then I need you to sign this right there and then give that back to you. Send an ovation. Welcome to the council. Bless your heart.
Welcome and thank you. All right, moving to, so, for some reason I thought we had done this, but I guess not, now we're going to.
No, we did with John, but then, yeah.
Yeah, we never did, talk about who might want to be the mayor pro tem afterwards.
Oh, yeah.
Kinda,
so-
I think I might have mentioned it to you.
About
Do you wanna
Lacy
do it?
Gibson?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's what we talked about.
well, she's assumed.
Yeah, she's doing the budget finance, deputy finance
So
officer.
like if Rob's not here, then you would just do the.
She would run the meeting.
Yeah.
I think it's a great idea.
I think so too.
I don't plan on not being here for a while, so you can just sit
It's
back
like
and take
once in a blue
notes
moon.
and, you know,
Yeah.
are you cool with that?
Can't you just run the meeting by FaceTime? We'll Zoom me.
Zoom.
I mean, I can do it, I don't know anything about it. So there you go.
Well, I will direct it mostly, so.
You'll be good, yeah.
It's,
This is what happens, I started a week before you. So that's- Next week, you're gonna be the mayor, right?
That's kind of how Rob got there.
I'll be quitting soon and I'll just turn it right over to him.
It's all you.
That's how this works.
So
It's like
we'll get
musical
to that in the action whenever we get
Yeah.
down there. So
Yeah.
let's get to the financial real quick there.
Okay, so we currently have $184,618.45 in our general fund. We have $209,668.68 in our utility fund, but there is a lot of that is already earmarked. I just haven't got the checks wrote yet. So for a total of $394,287.13 currently.
Probably like that.
Yeah, it was all money that we could use for that, but it's not.
All right, any questions on the financials? I mean, we're running the surplus primarily for a few different reasons right now. I mean, they were behind years ago on paying things. We got a lump sum, and then that was before COVID hit, and during COVID, we just basically we pulled back with the complete uncertainty of everything. So we're running a nice surplus, which is nice, but at any point in time, it could go away in a hurry. You see
Water pipes we blow, find new ones.
other things as well, but yeah, it's,
And the way that the town survives, it's unlike any other town, because what we fund everything as far as out of the town is through user fees, which is what we charge the resort for picking up garbage and doing the recycling and patching roads and changing lights and the street lights and.
there's virtually no property tax base. So it has to come from somewhere, and that's the only real somewhere that there is. There's a few small tax streams coming in, but it's.
Well, our tax revenue for property dropped from 10,000 to 2,700. So.
Did they get annexed out up there like they were trying?
I
Yeah.
don't know that we've ever heard an update on that 100%.
No, we have not.
We've never. They were pursuing it, but we never heard if they actually.
It has not. Nothing has ever came of it, because Sarah Locke would have definitely informed me.
We don't do nothing from the state or nothing? No money from the state?
We get a little bit of money for Powellville money for the roads.
Yeah.
That's like $6,500 a year.
But that's very specific.
But you can only use it for certain things. We get some like sales distribution tax, some utility fund tax and stuff. But there again, we're talking, 4,000, 5,500 sometimes on some of it. But there's like 4 different categories of tax that we get from the state that range from like $500 up to as much as $5,000. But it still doesn't add up to much more than, maybe 6,000, 7,000 for the year. So nothing that you can actually use to operate.
Normally property tax are funded, but it's because of the unique situation, that is a normal stream that is not available to us.
You do get occupancy tax.
Yeah, but that's TDA.
And that's specific use,
As well.
restrictions there as well.
Yeah, you can, 2/3 of it for marketing, and then 1/3 can be used for a little bit broader.
Recreation capital type stuff. All right, so we'll jump to the utility report here, so Carrie can
Take it away.
talk to us and then get out of here after working a long day.
Not much to report. We're gaining a little bit of water now, but there's 2 more leaks that they're gonna fix tomorrow. Fingers crossed.
And I heard you guys already talking about it out here, but let's go back to where it happened. So,
Okay. Best I can tell on the chart down there is like early Saturday morning, like around 1 o'clock, late Friday night somewhere, something blew. I don't know what it, I think it's a pressure release most likely would be the cause of all this.
Too much pressure.
Too much pressure and it started blowing. We get one thing fixed and something else blows and
Yeah, the initial blowout was down there at the bathroom beside the marina, right?
yeah,
And
because
then
there was water
Friday
running.
night's when the water pressure went up, so that's when the PRV valve probably popped, late Friday night.
late Friday night, early
Saturday
Saturday.
mornings when it was, a waterfall was coming down the ramp, that's when
And that probably started when I started pumping.
And that's the same pipe that blew out last time, it blew the fix out, I'm pretty sure, the little rubber boot that put on.
Yeah.
And then, once they got that fixed, that's when all this went.
That's when everything went.
And
started
you
blowing
had
out.
some things blow out at the marina too,
Everything.
sort of as a result of the surge.
And did it blow out the same, like the first time, did it do the same thing?
Oh, yeah, exact same thing.
So it's
Except
like,
it blew
both
more
the
out this
ones have
time.
happened out
Hot
there.
water heater, 4 hydrants, it blows the bottom out of those hydrants. The toilets, it blows all the fittings off the toilets. Houseboats, had 3 houseboats blow their water pipes apart. Swain shouldn't have wire on straight in. He's just single. The guy at the dam told me when you flush the toilets over there, the water hits the wall.
Yeah, it's
opposite
shooting
of the
out.
Oh,
toilet.
yeah, it is, but that's been happening for a while.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, why hasn't he said something about that?
You know, those are the things you're supposed to
I think that would be something I would be reporting, would you?
Well, I found out about that Saturday was when I found out about that. But nothing's right. Nothing's been right since. Whatever happened,
Yeah.
happened. We cannot. We've got the tank full one time. I mean, lost most of that. I mean,
And how many breaks have we actually fixed? Is it like half a dozen or so
Oh,
far?
gosh.
well, yeah, but some of them have had to go back and fix again because they blowed apart again.
Right.
So, let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I know of 7.
The more you fix, the more pressure you put on that line, and then it's gonna start blowing out the other stuff.
That's the concern.
I
But
did that
if we
for
don't
the
do,
other
if we don't do
pipe.
something to get some water, I mean, we're not gonna be able to get water to the tank. I mean, that
Yeah.
we're gaining like 7/10 of a foot an hour, and we're to fill the tank up is 33 feet.
Whereas we normally, I think a normal rate would be what, 1.5?
1.5 to 1.7, 1.8, somewhere through there.
Yeah,
So
between 1.5 and 2.
yeah, and we're losing so
Foot an
much.
hour.
Right now, when I left down there a few minutes ago, it could have changed by now, but we were still losing around 3 feet an hour out of the village tank. It won't hold. I mean, you can't. There's no wind here.
But I think, wasn't that because of the wiring
That was
issue?
no, that was before the. That was when before the whole wiring thing happened. When I had to pump off down there, when they were hooking the generator up and everything. You know when we had the loss of power and they couldn't get the pump to turn back on.
Right,
I was still losing 3 feet an hour then.
but we don't know currently if that's the rate, right?
No, but I'm guessing pretty close because they said they have that other leak's pretty big.
But then they haven't fixed that one yet, right?
No, they're gonna work on that tomorrow. They've not found it yet. They know the area, but I don't think they've actually found it yet.
So right now, we're just trying to hold as even as we can until they can fix that one, and then we'll see where we're
Yeah,
at.
but
That's
see, if
the-
we just let some of these leaks, we're not gonna be able to, there's so much happening that we're not gonna be able to keep the tank full.
Yes.
Or we're gonna have to run 24/7, and the 3 of us can't, I mean, we'll have to hire more operators. The 3 of us can't run that plant 24/7 to keep water in it.
Yeah.
No, that would be an unreasonable expectation.
So that kind of takes us to the next sort of phase of this. I think in talking with folks, just the fact we don't exactly know what's going on with that system. Because it was built in the 40s, we don't have any as-bills.
Wait.
Supposedly y'all got some,
Jeff,
Dave.
Matthew or somebody,
Dave, oh, about, how do you say Dave?
somebody gave Jeff a set.
He
of-
says, Dennis says it's coming up now,
Okay,
so.
well, that should be, I mean, because we got the pump on now. But I don't know how much is.
Yeah, so they found some stuff down in the
TVA
dam.
found some maps, but Jeff has them and he wouldn't, nobody's seen them yet. He
Yeah,
thought,
we need to make some copies of those as soon as possible, so you guys can have a
Just
set,
yesterday.
we
Or
can
this
have a
morning.
set, and then likely, you know,
I think they've been
the
asking
resort
for
needs,
years
we need
and
like
they
3
get together
sets.
and all.
At
they're in his
least.
truck the last I heard. I'm not seeing
Yeah,
them.
he's been very particular about it.
So,
He said the pressure is at 266, and it's supposed to be what, 275?
275, 280,
266
Yeah.
is still low.
yep.
Yesterday it was in the 250s, right?
Yeah, it's
Or-
come up a little bit, but
Yeah.
it's still not where it needs to be to
Yeah, normal.
normal.
And even normal is not really optimal.
Yeah.
It's
Because
not
it was.
great. The pump up there is rated for like 350 gallons a minute, so that's the most that pump's gonna do. That's the most we can do a day anyway. It's our limit is 350 gallons, and that's what the raw water coming into the plant,
Yeah.
we've got 2 filters, they're both set at 175 gallons a minute. That's as much water as we can put through those filters a minute a day. But if you do that, average it out, it's 500,000 gallons a day. But you're limited to how much you can go through in a minute, because you got filter rates and contact time and all kinds of regulations you gotta
We're
keep up
pegged
with.
out pretty much.
We are. And we stay that way. Even, I mean, that's what the plant was set up
Yeah.
as.
And then it's just about runtime at that point.
Yeah, and then it just turns into runtime. Like there's when things are going great, shorter days. When things are like this, it's 24 hours a day.
So we're trying to, I guess, moving from this whack-a-mole scenario, how do we get out of this whack-a-mole scenario, I think is the question. And to me, before we even start talking about the strategies, we have to be able to define what the system is, where the critical components are, you know, because we don't really have any schematics, say, that line going from the dam to the intermediate tank. It's all sort of word of mouth. Most of it is coming from either Dennis or Jeff's recollection. That's it. There's no schematic. So we don't know where pressure reducer valves should be, so we can investigate, is there one or more of those that have gone out that are causing this problem ultimately? It could be 2, 3, 4, 5, there could be half a dozen. I mean, how many would you expect to have on a system like this?
I have no idea what they did back then. I mean, it could just be just random. Like they found a pressure reducer buried upside down on one of the lines up near the cabins or in between
Yeah.
cabins or something. I mean, there's no rhyme or reason to it.
And that's the other thing is, not only do we not have any as-bills, we have no, say, updates. If somebody did some stuff in the 60s or the 70s or.
And what about what if something happens with Jeff or Dennis, you know, we don't have that information anymore. We've got to get that down before something catastrophe happens to them and we lose them, the knowledge they have.
The pressure valve's a pressure valve. If you got one on this side line, one on this side line, no matter what, it's only gonna let so much pressure through. Why
But the
don't you
problem
just
is-
go off your main to the resort, to here, to these places, and put new ones in at the beginning of all of them.
And that's likely what we're gonna have to do.
And then it'll fix
But I don't think
everything.
they know where all the lines are.
But the other problem
Well, like
is,
The main line that comes into
Yeah,
everything,
sure.
you got one pipe that
Yeah,
feeds it
sure.
all, right? And then that's got a header, and that header feeds everything else.
There's nothing,
No,
there's nothing logical about this.
No, we have like coming up from the intermediate tank and it comes up the road and comes into the village and all, there is, that is where, what, a 6 foot or is it 8 foot?
It's gotta come
Inch.
out of the tank somewhere.
Huh?
it's a 6-inch.
Okay.
So no, what it does, so you would think normally an intermediate tank is gonna go fill up the top, the tank at the top of the hill, right? And then that tank's gonna pressurize the whole system. But what it does is it actually it pressurizes the resort.
All the lines as
and
it's
then-
filling up.
And then the excess is what slowly fills. So you get this thing at the top, you're pressurizing this, and then the excess is just pushing up into
It's
this.
going through the village before it gets to the tank up there.
Yeah.
is
And
what-
then once they turn off
So
the
it's feeding all
intermediate
the little
tank,
feeder lines and everything.
then once they turn off the
But
intermediate
where does the
tank,
main water start coming out of? The water plant?
the main water comes out of the water plant.
And
It's
but it
pumped
goes
up
to
the
the
hill to the,
Intermediate.
Intermediate.
Pressure, wherever it's going.
Well, we've got pressure reducer valves in there, right?
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, there's a lot of pressure reducer valves in the system, and there's some that we know of, but the problem is we don't know where all the other ones are.
I mean, I'm just gonna put one at the marina, but I don't know anything about this up here.
And it all goes into all these feeder lines, which is different sizes lines, and then also it's feeding into the lines where we don't have houses or cabins anymore. So you have, you know, whatever leakage you got going around where those are at. And before it ever gets to the village tank, and then when you quit pumping, then it just slowly runs back out through the whole system again like that.
From what I understand, with the marina, the line that goes down by the intermediate tank, when you turn it on, I mean, you're pushing water both to the marina and to the village, right?
Yes.
Yes.
And then what happens is, whenever you turn that intermediate off, then there's a check valve that's supposed to stop the backflow
From the village tank.
from the village tank back in there. So the marina is technically pressurized by the village tank.
Yeah.
All the way at the top,
Technically.
because it comes back down.
And in that scenario, the marina sits at pretty much the bottom
I
of
need these blueprints.
Yes.
Are they
So-
from the 50s or what?
Who knows? I mean,
We've got some
We need to see what jail
drawings.
has.
We need
Yes.
the blueprints Jeff has, we need copies of that. So
And-
we
Yeah,
can
we
look at
definitely
our
do.
water system.
And when we stop pumping of a day, that little tank on the intermediate tank, the only thing it's supposed to feed is the bottom of the dam, the water plant, the sewer plant, and the campground, I
Yeah.
think. Is what
that is, that's all it's supposed to feed. Everything else, the top of the dam, the marina and everything is being fed them from the village tank.
Yes. That's our understanding, based on very limited information
Well, what
and
I don't get about that is the water pipe comes out of the marina. It goes to the field, they land in the helicopter, then it shoots over towards the horse stables and runs back down there to your water plant. Then how does it come from the resort to the marina?
it goes, I don't think it goes,
Does that make sense?
Yeah, got you, but I don't.
I mean, that's where it blows out. It blew out at the horse stables, it blew out up there in that field. It goes back through that road that's beside the horse stables and comes back down to the campground.
Well, I know just that one spot where
Does that make
Dennis and them found that major leak at though, there is, I mean, that was because there was a, back when the dam was being built,
I've
they
never
were down
seen-
in there, it was the tent town
I've
down
never seen
there.
the pipe on that road.
Okay, so they
So-
dug it up and fixed it.
We don't know, I don't know where that is and how
When
that
the-
fits into
When
things.
the horse stable pipe broke, that's when the marina pipe broke and everything, and that's all on the same system. And they said it goes through the woods from the horse stable down to the campground to the water plant.
I thought we just
I
had a
don't,
feed
who
line.
who said that?
Yeah.
But how do you
He
get
said
water
it
if
just
the
broke
plant's not
somewhere in
running
the woods
from
and
all the way
you
down
won't
there?
find it.
I can understand it feeding while we got the
So-
pump on down there.
So, the line that, I don't see why that would be the case, because it comes from
But you'd have to be pumping it.
the old water plant location up, and it works its way through a hollow, and then it comes up, you know, in that steep curve where the power lines kind of go down. The water line comes up there and works its way to the intermediate tank.
We'll know a
So,
lot about it when we get the blueprints.
yes. And that was why I said, that is step number one to this thing.
Yeah, we gotta have those.
Step number two would be trying to investigate and trying to develop the manpower to get this thing fixed, you know, short term, and then hopefully develop a plan more long term.
Yeah, replace sections at a time.
Yeah.
Into two
Or,
direct pipes.
or investigate it and sleeve it, because we can do the
I
same
know,
thing
it
that we
was just
did
this morning.
with.
We've been
the-
after blueprints for this, so.
I know for years.
500
Years
feet,
we've
one
been
that's
asking for them, yeah.
250 PSI, it was like $350, you know what I mean? So I don't know what 2 inch would be, but if you could do 10,000 feet at a time, it's not that expensive.
Who was that that's coming up in the white truck? The white Ford F-250, it looked like?
He's got a Bible.
No, he's just going around.
He may have just been, yeah.
Yeah, we need to see the blueprints, then you can go from there.
Right.
Yeah, I definitely need more information about this.
But I'm just trying to
When I work in
develop.
boilers, man, I fly all over and fix high pressure leaks, and you, like what they're doing, you're gonna cut your leak out, you're gonna fix it, and then you pressure it up, and the next thing breaks, and the
Right,
next thing
right.
breaks.
It's just,
and this
I mean,
is
it's
from
just
the
not gonna
50s, so-
end until we get something, I mean, there's
But
no
the
end in
max
sight
is
here because it's
80.
happening
But the
for
problem is,
days.
I think if we know where the possible failure points are, I mean, if it's not just a random spot in a pipe and it's happening more at fittings, at T's, at elbows, you know, the places where you would get higher pressures resulting, even the pressure valves themselves. I don't really know exactly what the solution is. but I think we're gonna be leaning on Tim's expertise here, in trying to develop a plan, you know, a long-term sustainable plan, because
And Mitchell is also about getting some extra like pressure reducing valves and the shut-off valve for the intermediate tank and those contacts for that pump. So we're definitely going to be getting some of that stuff, but and then Jeff had mentioned also about going through the stuff that I bought here a long time ago to see what he has left, and we'll probably end up having to buy a bunch more of that too. That's fittings and the elbows and all of the joints and stuff to fix these all these different lines. So, but you know, I have to ask, you know, how long putting a Band-Aid on these things until the pipe just disintegrates?
and so that's
You know?
There's only so many, I mean, it's just, they get the places fixed and then it's just, it's just busted, it's like a few inches away from where they had it fixed. I mean, it's
I know.
just,
Yeah.
it's
So
never.
the conversation really is coming up, what is the long-term plan to resolve this? And that really goes above our heads because we don't have the resources to actually implement it. We don't have millions of dollars. I'm hoping that possibly, it's gonna start with investigation, it's gonna start with putting some of those little camera deals inside of some lines, because supposedly you can sleeve them just like you did with the wastewater down the way. That was according to Tim and also from his boss. Remember, they came down and did, I wish I could remember. You remember the old guy's name? He was very knowledgeable, and he was like, yeah, you can do the same thing to those that you did to that, theoretically. You gotta get in there and look at them and see how bad a shape they're in, you know, because that would save us a lot of money from having to dig old lines up if we can just come in at places and sleeve them. And now they're pretty much sealed up and that fix usually will go for 20 years, 20, 30 years, I think is kind of what he was saying. And it's a fraction of the cost of digging the whole line up and replacing it.
What about though, just laying new lines
I just,
without digging up? I mean,
well,
just
I mean, on
doing
one
a whole lot
hand,
of
you're
lines.
talking probably you're probably talking, you know, maybe $1 million for one solution and 2, 3, 4 million for another solution.
Yeah, but the million you're spending on one solution is 20% or 20 years, and the other one's gonna be 100 years, so you're.
I don't think it'd be 100. I mean, we're not even 100 on this
Or
thing. I think you typically would, your life expectancy on a system like that would be probably 40 to 50, I would think, on the high
But
side.
the problem with just trying to patch what we've got or fix what we've got is nobody knows, unless these plants that they've got, nobody knows where we've got water just running out into nothing, just into rock.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think at that point, we would probably be looking at cutting off whole sections and just capping them, like all throughout here.
But all your
But
water
then it's
loss is
just gonna-
probably a blessing, because if we didn't have all this water loss, we'd blow all these old pipes to nothing. So I
Yeah.
think
Could
it's
be
probably
true, too.
That's a
actually a
good
blessing
point,
that
yeah.
we're losing water, because if you lose 75%, you cap all that up, that's a lot of pressure you're gonna make on those pipes. They said when they cut on them with a bandsaw, that it'll vibrate down here and they just disintegrate.
Yeah, they just go away.
I mean, that's
They're brittle lines.
That's seconds from disaster.
It is.
So I mean, the leaks are probably a blessing, it's a headache, but they're probably.
Yeah.
Keep fixing them, we're really gonna find out what we got.
I think we've just got to keep being a squeaky wheel now, and hopefully,
That guy that was in here earlier, he told me he lays pipe by himself for Baker.
Yeah,
What's his name?
Tim.
Tim.
Why don't you ask him what he thinks it would actually cost to repipe most of that? I mean, he does that for a living. What is a round number? Does anybody know a number that it does cost, or do we just kind of?
I think you'd have to give him some specs, like how much of this size
I mean,
pipe, how much of
many
this
miles
size
of
pipe.
pipe? I think we have, what, 25 miles of water
I said
pipe?
that's what he does, is for Baker, that's all he does, and he does it by himself because he can't get any help, but he cuts.
Yeah, I know Mitchell was
pipe,
like,
does all
we could really be using him back here right now, so.
Yeah.
But I think what we have is like 25 miles of water line, but that doesn't mean we have to have that many miles. That could be because it's all twisted up and going down to all
So-
these places where there used to be camps that are no longer
To me,
there.
it all kind of starts with getting a complete picture of the system.
Yeah, we don't know what.
And then we can start analyzing, what do we need, what don't we need, how much of this size, how much of this size, how much of this size.
Yeah.
And then we can start maybe trying to initiate an estimate for a variety of different things. And
Pretty sure the newer stuff, you get smaller because it takes more pressure, so you don't run 6-inch pipe everywhere. You run a lot more pressure. in
yeah,
there.
yeah, the standards have changed for
Yeah,
sure.
all that's changed.
So, but that would likely be something for, I mean, Portland Utilities, which is the guy that I believe Tim works for, right?
No, Tim works for
Tim works for
Baker.
Baker.
Yeah.
Portland Utilities guys that came in here and actually did the sleeving, they also remediate or install new systems as well. So, and they would likely be the guys that would come in, eyeball it, and say,
And they know.
these are your options.
But we'll have to contact this, I mean, all this has to get approved through the state. If we're gonna go in and run new water lines and stuff, we can't just bypass public water supply.
Right,
Right.
right.
I
And that's
think
the other wrinkle to the whole.
Yeah, we can't just come in here and just do what we wanna do without getting approval from them.
And
we can fix existing stuff, but we go run a new
cost estimation.
Yes, I think there is one, but I don't wanna misspeak if I say what I think they were talking about. So I think they do have a number in mind of what they think it would cost, but again, I don't wanna say they said, because.
I heard they had numbers, but I didn't know if it was like just a general estimate based
I
on
think
what
it's
they'd like
pretty
to spend,
solid.
or if they've actually done the analysis.
I think it's pretty solid.
I'd love to see the analysis if they've done it.
Yeah.
Well, I just,
Yeah, because what did they base it on if they don't know where?
I don't know, I just text Mitchell to reconfirm that number, so we'll see if he
Yeah.
responds.
Okay, good.
He might respond in the morning.
So right now, we're trying to push all of our requests for information, our you know, sort of, everything seems to be flowing through Mitchell at this time, right? I mean, we
A
haven't
lot of it
actually-
is, yeah. I've talked to him, I mean,
We're not jumping directly to TBA, we're trying to respect the chain at this point.
And Mitchell's real good too for working with
Yeah.
us. I mean, you know, so we'll work closely with him. Tim, he trusts Tim. Tim is very knowledgeable. We'll work closely with him. You know, and we'll keep hammering away at it. I mean, because it's in TBA's best interest with this water system. I mean, we got to have water, you know, so it's got to continue to run. So they're going to have to do something. And
just for, I mean, like, we valved the tank off the other night trying to keep water in the system so you all wouldn't lose water during the day. We had 18.5 feet. That's where we valved off at. And then when everything got cut back on and they were fixing leaks and stuff, it dropped down to, that's when it dropped down, the tank emptied, trying to bleed off all the air and stuff. And we had everything else blow apart, and that's when we that's when, during the day when we had no water.
You went from like 18 feet to like, what, 2 or?
So, nothing. I mean, I showed on that.
In the intermediate?
Yeah, in both tanks, but we both lost both.
Okay. Yeah,
I mean, when you saw how fast it just shot down.
yeah.
Estimated,
We didn't get here overnight, and we're not gonna fix it overnight, I think is the key, but we're looking at short-term solution and just to get to where something is more sustainable and then a long-term
And
solution.
if we keep losing pressure like this and stuff, I'll have to issue another boil water, and God knows how long that will be in effect. If we keep losing pressure and stuff like this, because public water supply, they want that done in an abundance of caution.
in writing until it's in writing. So yeah, but I would say that's.
And I've talked to Nicole today from public water supply, so I'm just gonna keep her updated and stuff.
Okay, you're just giving her updates and.
Yeah, because they need
keeping
to
her
know,
in
I
the
mean,
loop.
what we're doing, because they're not gonna like it if we've got all this, and they don't have a clue what's happening over here.
Right. Does she have any, is she having any comments or any?
She's happy that we've got a generator up there now. That made her really happy.
Yeah, we're making incremental progress.
This whole, I don't know, I'm at a loss, because it's just like,
Well, just know we're trying to rattle the cages
That
of
was
the
the-
folks we need to see if we can,
estimated that too.
you know,
when they came in.
develop a
So that's the
short-term
reason
and
why they
a
pulled
long-term
out.
solution.
But,
Anything else we need to hear from Carrie, or anything else you need to?
can I go home?
Yeah.
go home and go to
Carrie
bed.
needs sleep, yeah.
Be back tomorrow.
Thank you, Carrie.
All right, we'll see
Take care,
you.
be good.
Bye.
Bye.
Any other questions from you guys or comments about the current water situation? I know Brandon's in a situation where, you know, a lot of it's flowing downhill at the marina. You know, I'm out there. I'm not really seeing it to that effect. You know, I've just got my standpipe at the houseboat. And although whenever I went to go fill up the houseboat this morning, I was running it, and have you noticed some brown water down there?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
When I
I took
flush
a
my
shower,
toilet,
it's
it's brown.
solid red, the whole shower was red.
I ran it for about 5-10 minutes, and it finally went from being kind of that orangish color to being clear. So I'm
So
just
it did
hoping,
clear up?
yeah, I'm hoping it was just some residual, you know.
I'm sure
out
it's just
there.
everything being out and the airlocks that's been in
Yeah,
it
yeah.
and all of the outages and the brakes.
And you've got a brake and, you know, some clay and whatever, mix it in there, you know.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if
Clay.
it's dirt or if it's rust or if it's a little of both.
Probably both.
I mean, I would imagine it's a little of
I got
both.
those Berkeley filters that I use, those black ones, they're like this tall,
Yeah,
and they, for heavy metals,
yeah.
they 6,000 gallons. With our water here, they make it about 2.5 months.
Yeah, just,
Won't even do, 2 gallons a day, so maybe it does 120 gallons, that's all it filter out of the water.
is it
Tough.
physically,
It's a gravity fed, just a drink, that's all I use it
but is it jamming up because of things you can see or because it's the
for.
lead?
It's stuff in the
Lead.
water, yes.
And lead was something that's we're marginal on the testing.
Yeah.
Because that's basically, I think the lead gets there a lot of times because of the pipe itself. It sits in the
Yeah,
pipe. That's why it's a good idea. I don't really drink the water. If you are, certainly filter it. And if you're gonna say put water in a Brita, filter
Well, but I
water.
tell you though, I mean, we took samples over to Bryson, you know, because
Yeah.
when we lost pressure there and then put out a boil water advisory.
Yeah.
And we took that over there and there was nothing that showed up in the water.
Where do you get your sample
Really?
from? Because the shower I took last night, they would have never told you to drink that, ever. No way.
Well, they didn't say to drink it, they just said that there was nothing showing up in it that would prevent.
Oh, like
The water from being
bacteria and
used,
stuff.
you
Yeah,
know.
but that ain't the metals and all that's in it. But we got a lot.
Yeah.
But you can take a glass jar, fill it full of water, and sit it out there on the dock. Wait a week, and come back, and that much of it will be solid rust in the bottom. It's just the whole pipe.
Yep,
It is,
it's the pipes.
I mean, you go anywhere, any old hotels, it's the same thing.
yeah.
You just don't drink it, you filter it.
The hope is we can, maybe there'll be a silver lining in this, that it will kick it to the forefront. Kind of like last year when we had the wastewater system going down the road. We had so many issues that it pretty much forced the hand. So I feel like we're moving in that direction with this. And it's just, you know, the writing's on the wall, just do you want to see it or not?
And we're really going into season, we have a lot of groups coming in.
Mhm.
Like even this week, we have banquets and stuff every day of the week.
Yeah.
And that's why I say, I think trying to see if we can get somebody to come in here and help us short term, whether it be pressure reducing valves in key locations, and see if we can just limp down the road until we get to the off season, and then we can develop our plan. And then
Well,
we
the
can
only thing
implement.
is I don't want to limp so much that they forget about us again, and it takes it off on the radar, you know, because one of the things about being in an emergency situation is that it forces eyes and it makes people react.
Well, not only are we limping, but we're also in an analysis standpoint and an estimate standpoint of what we got to do to change this. Knowing it's kind of like when the water plant was down there and we were running on the old water plant, that was just a disaster waiting to happen at any moment. You know, if that thing shut down.
Yeah, yeah.
It's what it's gonna take to get it fixed, man, is what almost happened here where they told people they couldn't check in and they didn't have water.
A major
That's
shutdown.
what it's gonna take to do it. They'll have to shut down and be like, man, it's gonna be 2 or 3 weeks before we can fix it. And finally, somebody's gonna be like, all right, let's go in there and tear it up.
Well,
Because, they're not wanting to mess with it. They want somebody to take the bid.
they other ones might take it over and do
I don't
it
think they
themselves,
took the one
and
that-
I don't think it's a logical thought process. Who is going to want to do that?
And I think one of my concerns is we just got Carrie on board and now she's dealing with this, and I don't think it's not putting her in a great state of mind, you know, it doesn't inspire a lot of confidence.
She's worked here for a long time.
Sure.
So she knows what
She knows what's up, but at the same time, I don't know that we've had it hit the fan quite this bad. You know, so usually there's a blowout, we fix it, we're kind of good to go. Maybe there's a couple of residual problems. Now we're dealing with like a habitual problem that just won't go away as far as filling up that tank. We can't get back to normal.
That's why you pay on money. That's what's called a job,
Yeah.
you know?
Indeed it is, and what a job it is. All right.
So you got the storage building on here.
Well, really, the only thing is just like, here's the thing. I mean,
You tell them temporary?
yeah, I use the word temporary, and he still wants to know how big, what are you going to put in it, blah, 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 blah. To the point, it's like, okay, either we just buy the building and put it up, Or we veto the whole
Well,
idea and just use the one that we have?
There's one up at the marina, I think.
No, that's what kind
Well-
of the thought process was, just put it up, but.
Yesterday,
Because it's
Meredith-
just gonna be sitting on pavement, we're not, I mean, you know, we can pick it up and move it.
Yesterday Meredith said something about, they told her to build a building to put that little generator deal in, right?
Mhm, yeah, that's right, yeah,
So-
generator
So
house.
our thought was, this generator can go in that building, so that's gonna, they gave permission, so that's what.
And we've got generator houses all over this property.
I say you just go for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what, so we need to probably look at.
We
the
need
space.
measurements.
We need to spec out the size, maybe after the meeting, can we walk out there and eyeball it real quick? And just maybe pull a tape on it and just kind of get a rough idea, and then we can start looking online for these size buildings, and we can kind of start moving ahead, and if we can find a building for, I don't know, 10 grand or whatever
Yeah.
it's gonna end up being. then we
Remember,
can-
everything's gonna be more expensive, but the longer we wait, the more expensive it's out to be. Did anybody, I heard gas was now up to $4.69.
I read
Is
this
it-
morning it's going double.
Yeah.
Is it $4.69 right
It
now?
was like 470.
It's going to 8?
Yeah.
It's going at least $8 to $9 a gallon.
Why is it going
Oh
up?
my god.
You tell me, I don't know the gas prices.
Oh,
They-
no.
they-
Let me just hand it
Brandon,
back,
you
yeah.
have your hand in
I wanted to
every
be something.
day.
I just wanted to make something.
I did get a National Geographic documentary done on me the other day. Forgot to tell you about
Oh, gee. That's all
Oh,
we
my
need.
goodness.
September.
What?
that. There's this little company called Disney, they own Nat Geo. You'll see me, I'm on the documentary.
Yeah.
Oh, what?
boy.
The marina?
I took them on a guided hike. I thought I was just taking them in the backcountry, and then they mic'd me up, and I spent the whole day with them, and they shot videos of me going through Hazel Creek. It was
Oh,
pretty
that's
cool.
cool.
So September, I'll sign autographs.
Yeah, Lord.
So,
You can see his head growing from here.
Every word.
so how
I
about,
was in the right place.
the other thing?
Sounds like a good story for the newspaper, just
The other
saying.
thing.
It's coming, man, it's coming.
Break the money.
Well, I mean, I have not been able to call and get an appointment, and I still got to figure out if we can even drive it over there. We're gonna have to have it hauled over there, so I haven't really paid no attention to the truck with all this other stuff happening. It's kind of, last 2 weeks it's been going on with water, you know, it's knocked everything else out.
Okay.
And then I've got budget coming up, so I'm more concerned with all that at the moment, but,
My concern is if something happens with that other truck,
I
we're
know.
gonna be dead in the water.
Yeah, we
gotta
will
get
be.
a backup plan going on that.
yeah, I know.
I sell you mine, I need it.
You just got that.
We just, I think probably, even if it would make it over there driving, probably it would be just the smartest thing to go ahead and get somebody to tow it over there.
Yeah, I'm down for that.
Do it.
Did y'all find a place?
Make a motion, Rob tows the truck over.
No, we're gonna like get Beasley or
Yeah.
somebody to haul it over there.
That has a, well, like you call it, yeah.
Motion failed, got it.
Motion failed, there was not even a
Hey, I don't
motion.
know, but it could be that our insurance money
Will
will
you
cover
please make
that.
motions on
That
real
was-
things?
He's talking about it for 3 different occasions that I've been here, we were talking about Rob towing the truck over. I just thought, I make a motion, we have to do it. All about it. Let's fix it.
Keith. Hey Keith, I'm in the middle of a council meeting, let me call you back, okay? Bye-bye. All right.
So we'll try to make an appointment over there at Ford and then. we'll
Yeah,
try to
I'll call them
just-
and then I'll either, first of all, I'll call Seth and see if we got anything that would tow the truck over there, if the insurance will cover that. And then if that doesn't work out, then I'll ask Ford's if they've got some way to come get it, you know, because they may have something too.
They may have somebody that they can say, go get it.
Yeah,
And
so
It may not be terribly expensive to come from Bryson.
I will work on that before the next meeting. Which brings, well, we'll discuss that in the budget, so.
So we've got the audit coming here next.
Yeah, and the reason I brought that up, and you need to sign all this stuff here, but so this year the audits, and we approved it last night at TDA, is gonna be combined into one audit. So both the town and the TDA is gonna be combined in one. It's still gonna, the TDA still is operated as a separate identity, and it's gonna have its own budget. Just all of that stuff is not gonna change, but in order to keep our audit costs at the same as it was last year, which is still significant, I think it was like $12,000 for both total for both audits. They combining them will allow them to keep that price the same. Otherwise, it's going to go up by a couple of $1,000s, and you know, we need to save money wherever we can so we can fix water and blown trucks. So anyway, we approved that. So just so you guys know that when we get the audit back this year, you know, normally we get those two books that has the TDA one and the town one. It's just going to be the one book that's going to have everything in
They're
there.
gonna consolidate.
Yeah, they're just gonna be consolidated
Yeah.
for the audit purposes, so, anyway, sign where you're needed to sign and those.
So, and then, so moving on to the budgets,
So the budget, we have to have it advertised in the paper for 2 weeks, before we can actually approve it, but not only that, though, we're on the LGC watch list, so I've got to get that sent to them. I'm gonna try to get that done by the beginning of the week at the latest to get it sent to them. I started working on it today because I thought I was be able to give you guys a copy to look at. But then the power went off, and when it came back on, it was not saved. So I was starting at ground zero again. So I'm going to go and get with Little May and fine tune it a little bit more, probably on Monday. So we need to meet though I'm thinking probably about the same time that we did with the TDA, even maybe the same day. You know, since there's both several that
hang
are.
on a minute, so refresh my memory,
So I need to present the budget to you and have you guys look it over, and we need to advertise it for 2 weeks, and then we have to meet and approve it, and it's gotta be approved by the June 30th. But the LGC has got to see it before you guys even approve it.
we're just looking at our normal, it's gonna be the 15th, it's gonna be our normal meeting.
Yeah, and see, that would be too late to actually then get it in the paper for 2 weeks and then meet back again because it's gotta be available for viewing for 2 weeks. But you guys got to look at it. You won't be approving it, but you got to still look at it. Now, granted, I could probably just send it out in an email, you know, and you guys can reply individually, so it doesn't violate any open meeting laws.
Why don't we do that?
You want me to do that?
Yeah.
Because all you're doing is just looking it over to see if you have any questions about, you know, why is this money is over here, or why, you know, what is going on. And it'll be good for you guys because none of you have ever seen a budget for the town, so.
It's the budget for like the whole fiscal year.
Yeah.
Like all the aspects.
And it's a very simple budget, you know, you got your administrative costs, then you got your roads, you've got,
I thought we looked at one of those on our first one.
I think we looked at something similar.
yeah.
Answer for that. Is there something else?
Sorry, is that you?
It was my watch.
I don't have an answer for that.
Unless you guys want to try to get together, say, on the 1st or the 8th.
Unlike the TDA, we don't go through and see the TDA we meet and it's like, okay, what are we gonna cover this year? What are we gonna help fund? This, we're not like that because it's repeated year after year after year. I mean, we know we got administrative costs. We know, you know, we got audit costs. We know that we've got on election costs on the years that there's elections. So these are all money that's set aside for that and it's broken down. We know we got to pay David. We know we got to pay Dennis. We know we got to buy chemicals. We know we got to do all this stuff. So it's just basically going through adjusting price increases, you know.
There may be a couple things we want to build into this budget, possibly.
Well, truck repair.
The truck repair and or
Building.
purchase and the building could be two non-standard expenses
Yeah.
that we might want to go ahead and include on that.
Right.
The coming fiscal year. 'Cause
Yeah.
by the time we end up getting on that, I imagine it will be.
And there's some adjustments, but just a preliminary, now that's not including the two budget items or what we just talked about there, but preliminary, going through it, we are a couple of $1,000s less than what we were last year, even with everything that we have going on. And the reason for that is because of First of all, contract labor, we don't have to worry about that now so as much, because we had like $27,000 set aside in contract labor, you know, and that was a lot for Carrie and all. We don't have to worry about that now. And then professional services, because we don't have a consultant, and we only pay for a lawyer as we, you know, our lawyer as we use him. We don't have to pay a monthly fee to him, so
So you can move that.
that is, so, and we don't have an election this year, which would come out of that, so, you know.
So Zell, timing wise, what's the possibility of having this ready by, what, like the end of next week?
Well, I would have to, I've got to get it to the LGC, so I've got to have it ready by the beginning of the week to send to them.
Okay.
So if they look at it and give their approval,
Yeah.
then it's set.
Just tell them we need to get it back, because we need to get it out to us so we can look at it, and then if we can have a reply to you by, say, Monday the 30th,
Mm-hmm.
then we can put the notice in the paper
Paper.
that week, and then we'll have it in the paper for the 2 weeks before our meeting on the 15th.
And we can approve it
And we can
then, and we
approve
not
it,
have to have
and
another
we'll be
extra
good to
meeting,
go.
yeah.
Yeah, that's how I think it should probably go, so if we work
Okay.
towards that timeline, I
All
think
right.
that would be desirable. So hopefully they can run it through their approval process fairly and expedite that.
Yeah,
so
they
that
do.
we can-
They usually, I mean, I think last year they did it within just a day or two, so. You know, they asked a couple of questions to verify some stuff. I mean, you know, I can't get it into their head. I mean, and I just don't understand why they don't get this, is that when it comes to our utility fund, which is what they're zeroing on now, is that they, don't understand that if something happens at the water plant, wastewater plant, electrical, the resort fixes that because that's the only way, they're their only customer, so they pay for that. You know, it's not
It's
something that we
utilities
have to
on
be,
demand, pretty much.
yeah, that's not something we have to prepare for, you know? I mean, there's things that we pay up front, and there's things, of course, that we're saving money towards, like one thing being meters. I'd love to get some meters in here, you know, and I think that's one thing we might, even if it's just one or two to begin with, you know? I don't know how much meters cost, but I'm gonna start looking into
Honestly,
that.
I don't know that I want to do anything on meters before we address the general water situation.
Yeah.
Because I think that you just kind
Well, I mean, but to me though, if we have I'm talking about meters that will show us where we got more water going.
Okay.
you
maybe that
know.
can be troubleshooting.
Yeah, it'd be a
for
troubleshooting
leakage.
device, and you know, because
That's
if we got a meter that's running like crazy, then we know somewhere between where this meter was put in and that line, there's something going on there. Right now, we have no way of even being able, you know, there's no identifying ways to
It can
figure
be
out.
part of our short-term solution and analysis.
Yeah, it would help us to figure out where water losses
I'd
occur.
be game for that, sure. The hope was, once Carrie got in here, we were not gonna be in an emergency situation, and we were gonna be focusing on, you know, efficiencies and locating leaks and streamlining the process, and instead.
Dennis was
it's
gonna be
like,
putting,
oh, crap.
sealing off old sewer lines that no
Yeah.
longer go to houses and stuff, and we could,
Yeah, Dennis's
actually,
focus was gonna shift more to the wastewater side. Right now, we're having to utilize them on the water side significantly right now.
yeah.
So
He has worked hard here through this too. He has.
Dennis is, he's been instrumental. that's
Yeah,
for
big
sure.
time on this, he has.
All right, any questions on anything we've talked about from utilities, audit, budget, finances? No. All right, anything else anybody wants to discuss in our discussion area?
Something that crossed my head there, boy. What was it?
We still need to do the Mayor Pro Tem, or are we gonna do it?
Yeah, we've got some action items.
Yeah, I know, but it
Actions.
seems like,
Got a lot on the doors.
something I was just gonna say.
Maybe
Maybe we'll come back.
You gonna do that now?
All right, well, we'll move on to our action then. We've got, we need an action for approval of this new audit contract as been presented.
Speak up, guys. We've got 3 more people here. Tiffany don't need to do it all. Come on.
I propose a motion for the approval of the audit contract as proposed.
Thanks. Thanks, Liz. All in favor? All right, and we have looking for a motion to appoint Brandon as our new mayor pro tem.
I'll make a motion to make Brandon the mayor pro tem.
Cool. All right, all in favor? Motion carries.
I don't.
It's really just a fancy title.
That's all it is.
You know.
Don't panic.
Yeah.
I was gonna make a motion on that, but I guess
All right, have we got any other action that needs to be taken right now? So
I don't believe so, no. I don't believe there was any other action.
So we're gonna be on a normal schedule, but we'll be looking for an email coming out towards the end of the month with the proposed budget, and we'll be just responding to Zell back and forth.
Individually, not as, don't just hit reply all, because that violates open meeting laws, so
You can't have a
you can't do that.
discussion on
just send it
email.
to each person individually, and then there won't be a reply all option. Solve that problem.
Wow.
6 buttons.
One for you.
I run
One
mine
for
on an
you.
iPhone and I just hit buttons.
Yeah, one for you versus 6 for me. I'm busy too, Brendan.
I'll be the guy that gets it.
All right, well, if we got nothing else, I'm gonna adjourn us here at 6:38.